Hey everybody, welcome back to Challenge Call of Max and Avery. I'm your host Max.
And I'm Avery. How are you guys?
All right, today we are going to be putting all the teams in some different categories of where we think they're going to land in this upcoming season. So we've got 5 different categories that we're going to put them in. We've got our Super Bowl contenders up at the top. We've got our playoff runners, those teams that are going to make it a little ways in the playoffs but might not get to the very end of it. We've got our first round losers, those teams that are just going to squeak in and kind of lose in that first round or two, not really go very far. We got our shortcomers who are probably going to just barely miss the playoffs or lose out by 2-3 games or so. And then we've got our bottom dwellers who just, like, those are your trash teams that I don't think anyone is thinking they're in the playoff battle right now as we go into preseason. We're going to go through all the teams in randomized order here. Avery, are you excited?
Let's do it. I'm pumped, ready to go. So I think it'll be a good time.
All righty, let's do it then. The team we've got first on the docket is going to be the Minnesota Vikings. All right, I'll let you take it away, Avery. Where do you think the Minnesota Vikings are going this season?
I think that the Minnesota Vikings, just looking at the division in itself with the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears, I think all 3 of those teams have significantly within the past few years gotten better. And I feel like the Minnesota Vikings have gotten worse.
Well, speak on the getting worse a little bit. Let's go through some of the players that have moved and changed and kind of where they were.
Okay. So
they were 7-10, right? So not the greatest. Where does that stand out overall in the league? They're where the fuck are they on this list? Oh, they're just above the Bears. They're in the bottom half. They're in the bottom third overall in the NFL. What are some of the changes they've had in this offseason?
A lot of the changes rely on the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins is officially out in Minnesota as he signed with the Atlanta Falcons. And they brought in a very, very questionable quarterback to at least start the year, Sam Darnold. To start the year as their bona fide starter is Sam Darnold right now. They have made some improvements. Their first round pick was J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. But we all know rookies don't always start right away. And from what offseason has been saying is that it's going to be Sam Darnold. They've also lost a decent amount of running backs. I mean, Alexander Madison is not there this year. Of course, they still got Justin Jefferson. They also have Addison Russell, or Jordan Addison. Sorry, thinking baseball. Jordan Addison. But Jordan Addison just got arrested for a DUI 2 days ago. So, I mean, he might be missing a decent amount of the season. I think the Vikings are a team in disarray.
Well, don't forget they've added Aaron Jones as well.
Right.
As going to be their starting running back. So, yeah, they might have lost Madison. They've got Aaron Jones. They've still got Hawkinson, who's, solid tight end. I don't know much about the defense. Couldn't tell you movements there.
So, they brought in Andrew Van Ginkel from Miami, the defensive end, which he's solid, but he's not a star, right? He's solid. I'm not too worried about that. They did draft a guy out of Alabama I like a lot, Dallas Turner. They drafted Dallas Turner, so I think he'll make a big impact this year. But I still think this team is like a year to 2 years away from being a first-round loser or even a playoff run contender. So for me, I'm going shortcomers. I think that the Minnesota Vikings, at this point moving forward, they belong right there. What are your thoughts?
I can agree with that. I think they'll probably be shortcomers. I mean, you look at last season, 7-10. That's just below 500. Nothing crazy. They are in a very tough, upcoming at least, tough division with the Bears making all the improvements they've made. The Packers are who they are. The Lions have been rolling hot lately. So, they have no chance at winning the division to get in that first round at all. So they ain't doing it that way. And then pure record-wise alone, they haven't added anything that they didn't have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they lost a running back, so they added a running back. Now, it might be a slight upgrade in getting Aaron Jones over Madison, but at the same time, all right, one good back for another. You lost Kirk Cousins. You brought in Sam Darnold / J.J. McCarthy. Not really an improvement, even if J.J. McCarthy is going to be as good as some people have predicted and stuff, like, oh, he's going to come in and be the next Tom Brady, whatever, managed team. He ain't doing it this year. It's not happening right off the bat. So I think shortcomers, but That being said, I don't think they belong in the bottom dwellers per se, because they do have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. Like, they've got guys, Aaron Jones even as a running back. They've got plenty of talent that they can win some games. Like, they will win a decent amount of games, but not enough to really break them into that playoff threshold.
I agree 100%. So the Vikings are done. You want to spin that wheel and see who we got next?
Next up, we've got the Washington Commanders.
Okay.
Tough one.
So Washington, man, last year I would put them as a bottom dweller, right? What was their record last year? You got it.
4-13.
4-13. Definition of a bottom dweller. But with that being said, they fired their head coach. Ron Rivera is officially out. They brought in Dan Quinn, a respectable defensive coordinator. I don't know if it'll translate this year per se, but they got rid of their quarterback last year. It was like revolving door of quarterbacks last year.
Wasn't Darnold there at some point?
No, it was Sam Howell. It was Jacoby Brissett and Taylor Heineke. So 3 guys that just like within the last couple of years, that is just like revolving door of mediocrity. They brought in Jaden Daniels as the number 3 pick in the NFL, or number 2 pick in the NFL draft. We talked about J.J. McCarthy not starting right away. This guy will start right away. Like Jaden Daniels will be the guy. And it's not like they didn't bring other pieces in, because instead of Antonio Gibson as their starting running back, they brought in Austin Eckler from the Chargers. Austin Eckler is a bona fide starting running back in the NFL. So I think Austin Eckler will do tremendous things for what Dan Quinn wants to do. They've also, how they demolished their defense last year with trading Montez Sweat away, trading Chase Young away. Well, they did a couple of things to kind of fix that defense. They brought in Bobby Wagner. I know he's a little older, but Bobby should be their starting in a veteran presence in that locker room, and I think that's going to be great. They also brought in Zach Ertz, veteran locker room guy. They brought in Dante Fowler, which is a solid defensive end. But at the end of the day, I'm saying all of these positives for the Washington Commanders, but I'm still putting them in the bottom dwellers. I think they're going to be drafting in the top 10 next year because Jaden Daniels is very inexperienced. First-year head coach, Dan Quinn, which, he was the Falcons head coach, so he does have former head coach experience, but he's not quite at that level where it would be like, okay, this is a tremendous change. So I think they are a bottom dweller team still.
Okay. You were making a good argument for me to think they were going to be shortcomers until I started kind of looking at this overall schedule and thinking to myself, okay, where do we draw the line of a shortcomer and a bottom dweller? Because looking at this based on who got in the playoffs last year, there were, let's see, there were 2 9-8 teams that made the playoffs. There were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 5 9-8 teams that did not make the playoffs. So to be in that shortcomers, you got to reasonably predict that you're going to go 9-8, 8-9, maybe 7-10. That's got to be that range. They've made some improvements, yes, with getting Jaden Daniels. They still have Terry McLaurin. Austin Eckler is going to be a huge addition to them. Zach Ertz, not a bad tight end. But all that being said, like you said, like they might not get it done this year. And if they do reasonably like make a huge step up and improve and win 2 or 3 more games to go 6-11, 7-10, that's not shortcomer status. So I think they're still kind of sitting at bottom dweller until they prove themselves higher of that.
See, and I think we need to clarify what between first round losers, shortcomers, and bottom dweller, where that record is. That we think. Like bottom dwellers, of course, I think that's anywhere from 0 games to 6 games. Shortcomers, I think it could be 6 games if they were close games. Like that's where it teeters a little bit.
To me, shortcomers is you were a game or 2 out, which means you have maybe 7 or 8, maybe 9 wins, but you just didn't make it.
That's fair. So shortcomers is 7 to 9, and then first round losers, I think we got to go 9 to 11.
See, first round losers is tough because like you can make the playoffs and get a Super Bowl contender in the first round and lose. Like that one's kind of a tough one to be like, oh yeah, I don't know. So you do reasonably have to give it a little bit of grain of salt. Like especially playoff runners and first round losers, like, okay, are we saying playoff runners, those are the teams that are potentially getting into the AFC, NFC championship, and everyone else is kind of that first round loser, like whether it's wild card or divisional, like you get out pretty within the first couple of games kind of area,
I think it's a mixed bag with it, right? Like
it is. Well, and it's supposed to
right,
be, because obviously we're not going to break it down exactly to put, here's our 2 Super Bowl
right.
contenders, here's our 4 runners that are like the 4 teams. Like, we're not breaking it down like that. It's loose. Like, it's a
Yep.
range. So I think we're fine with what we've got, what we just kind of stated. Like, that's roughly what we're going with.
So we both agree the Commanders, bottom dwellers.
Yes, I do not think that they are going to be doing anything special next year, that they haven't made the improvements to show, well, at least in a timely manner. You know, they could prove us wrong. They could get there. They could make playoffs maybe. But you have to prove yourself to earn that spot first. I'm not just going to give that to you before anything ever actually happens.
I agree, 100%. All right, next team.
Moving on, we have got the Chicago Bears. Oh, getting it started bright and early. What do we got? So obviously everyone knows we've got the acquisition of Caleb Williams. We've got Rome Odunze as our other draft pick. We've got Keenan Allen. So receiver room, you got your 3 right there: DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen. You've got Caleb Williams thrown to him. What did we do on defense? We took a couple defense, didn't we?
Yeah, you forgot Torrey Taylor.
Yeah, sure.
Punter. So defense, we drafted a guy from Kansas. Forgot his name. Defensive end. Bears, it is Austin Booker. We drafted Austin Booker.
Yep.
No, man, the Bears are tough, right? And I'm not gonna be a homer on this one. I struggle with this because, one, the offseason started off with 2 key losses, but actually turned into maybe a positive gains, because it was Justin Fields traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? That was our big offseason talk. Are the Bears going to trade the number 1 pick and keep Justin Fields, or are the Bears going to draft Caleb Williams? You know, it was like that. And then the second was Luke Getsy got fired, and we actually brought in a capable offensive coordinator. And Shane Waldron. So those are 2 big moves that the Bears made right off the bat at the end of the offseason, or in the beginning of the offseason. We also made a lot more moves. Like we extended Jalen Johnson, which was awesome.
Yep.
We brought in DeAndre Swift instead of having Khalil Herbert, which Khalil's still there, but we also released a couple of veteran guys. Like we released Eddie Jackson, longtime Bear. We released Cody Whitehair, longtime Bear. So those pieces hurt the locker room presence, but also you got to think Ryan Poles knows what he's doing. And we've been talking about this. We are pretty much a Bears podcast, right? We talk about the Bears quite often. Well, we also brought in Matt Pryor, offensive tackle, Gerald Everett to help out with Cole Kmet. We brought in Kevin Byard, a strong safety, to replace Eddie Jackson. Jonathan Owens, another safety, as backup. I mean, we brought in a lot of guys. Let's see if that translates, because the Bears finished, 7-10 last year?
Yep.
7-10. Right there, that's already on the shortcomers level. I don't know if we do enough to be first-round losers yet. I think we finished 9-8, because at the end of the day, as awesome as our offense is on paper, it doesn't mean like it's going to be awesome in real life either, right? It's on paper. It sounds awesome. We have a capable offensive coordinator on paper. Caleb Williams is supposed to be, he just got paid $39 million. That comes in as the 9th highest quarterback in the league before he even steps on the field. We don't know what that's going to translate to at the NFL level. But even if he doesn't perform and he has like a Dak Prescott type season, I think we're 9-8. I think we're 9-8 and we miss out on the playoffs because of the Lions, because of the Packers. I think we miss out on the playoffs.
I disagree. I think I have to put us at first round losers, because biggest thing being, we finished right there back to back with the Vikings, right? 7-10, 7-10. The Vikings made a couple moves that were kind of just lateral movement, maybe a step down in the quarterback position, whatever. We put them as shortcomers. The Bears have made a million moves that have all been significant improvements, should be.
On paper.
On paper, sure. But, and I mean, yes, we make the argument that, like, well, we don't know anything about Caleb Williams, like what's going to happen when he comes into the league, who he's going to be, how he's going to do. But you just said he's the ninth highest paid coach. Like, that shit happens for a reason. People much, much smarter than us, like, they are paying him for a damn good reason. He's fucking good. Is he going to come out and light up the league right away and just, like, you know, be insane? Like, maybe not. But, like, he's going to come in and do good. He's going to come in and be better than Justin. And coming in and being better than Justin with more receiving talent than Justin had is going to do at least 2-3 games better than 7-10. At that rate, like, that's first round losers right there.
Do you think he's going to come in and be better than Justin from game one?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think maybe by the end of the season, he's a lot better than Justin. I bet by halfway through the season, he's better than Justin. But game one, I think Justin Fields will be the better quarterback because of his NFL experience, and Caleb Williams will be. By game two, I think Justin Fields is still a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. By game three, but what happens?
I think that experience.
What happens when you drop 1, 2, maybe 3 of those games, and you start off 1-2, 0-3? Then that bottom dweller is looking a lot closer than shortcomers is, or even first round losers. So that's why I'm saying I think you gotta put the Bears at shortcomers. Like, I love the Chicago Bears. I'm a Bears fan, but I'm being realistic about everything and pessimistic because, like, I'm scared of what happened last year. So
see, you are letting, I think to a degree, you're letting your biases do the opposite of what your intent. You're saying you're being realistic and you're hedging your bets on the pessimistic side. Pessimism is not realism. You are being pessimistic because you don't want to get hurt by saying that the Bears could be in the first round losers bracket. And it's because, like we just said, you said they'll be 9-8, right?
Yeah.
There were 2 9-8 teams that made the playoffs. Like,
but how many 9-8 teams missed the playoffs? Look at that.
5. But still, that is, like, first round loser, shortcomers, like that's all the same record. If you're saying 9-8, like, that could arguably be in either one. I think you are hedging your bets on the negative side. I think they have a good chance at making it into the playoffs. Whether they win it by division, whether they get, like, the at-large bid for it, I don't know how it comes. But I think they have a decent chance with all the talent that they've got and who they've got running the show. I think there's a decent chance they at least are going to get into those playoffs.
Okay, I'm just going to concede. I mean, just for time's sake, I will put first round losers, and I would love that. Like, I would love that. So, like,
that would be fantastic.
I'll put it there, but I still think, in my heart to heart, that we're shortcomers this year.
Maybe. The last thing I will say is, you want to talk about Caleb Williams' first game being better than Justin Fields. Caleb Williams Justin Fields has the experience, sure. But we still see to this day Justin Fields screw up and just have a horrible game after one screw up. Caleb Williams is going to come in, maybe throw a pick, and he's not going to care. He knows he's good. He thinks he's hot shit. It's not going to fucking rattle the bejesus out of him if he messes up a little bit, like, in the first game. He's going to be fine. He's a calm, collected quarterback. He's had interviews where he's just like, I played on the biggest level that, like, you can play at. Like, USC football is just, you know, unreal. The pressure and the shit that's so, which there's the NFL, sure, it's a step up, but in his mind, he's just playing football. Like, I have no doubt that he is just going to be a calm, collected dude going out there.
For sure. All right.
Next up on our list, we have got the New York Giants.
What?
That's an interesting one. They were 6-11 last year, so
okay.
So they're right at the kind of cutoff for the bottom dwellers last year. Have they made any good moves?
No, I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, yes, like they've made moves, but I don't know if it's like actually helped their team because they've lost more.
Well, what moves did they
Well,
make?
let me talk about who they lost first. They lost Saquon Barkley, their bona fide star, to the Philadelphia Eagles, an in division rival. You lost your star running back to the in divisional rivals. So there's that. Xavier McKinley, their star safety, went to the Green Bay Packers, unfortunately. Tyrod Taylor, you could take him, you could leave him, but he went to the New York Jets. Sean Robinson, defensive end, their starter last year, went to the Carolina Panthers. Okay, so those are guys that, they're both their starting wide receivers. Sterling Shepard went to the Buccaneers, and Paris Campbell went to the Philadelphia Eagles. So those are guys they lost. Let's talk about the guys they brought in. They brought in probably only two guys this year that I would say that is going to help their team. And Brian Burns, outside linebacker from the Carolina Panthers. I think that is a great move. He's a bona fide star. And then the second guy is a rookie, Malik Neighbors. Like, we don't know what Malik Neighbors will contribute to. Like, that's just like Caleb Williams. You don't know. He was a star at LSU, but is he going to be a star for the New York Football Giants? You don't know that. So, other guys they did bring in that are starters, Devin Singletary, but that's a step down from Saquon Barkley. Drew Lock, just in case Daniel Jones struggles. Jury's still out on Drew Lock. Nobody really knows who Drew Lock is. One game he'll put up 400 yards and be a cocky son of a bitch. Next game he'll throw 4 picks. So you don't know who Drew Lock is. And Isaiah McKenzie, like a decent slot receiver. But I think this team went from like the top of the bottom dwellers, almost shortcomers, to the bottom of the bottom dwellers. So I think this is a bona fide, hey, here you are, you suck.
Yeah, losing Saquon Barkley is just a huge like if you're going to do anything, you need to bring in a different quarterback, maybe a couple top-notch receivers, which, I mean, you've got Malik Neighbors, who has the potential to be a very explosive, very talented receiver in the league this year with the right quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know if Daniel Jones is that guy that's going to be capable of getting in the ball great. They still have Darius Slayton, who's not bad, but yeah, I don't think any of their moves greatly benefits their overall like team. They won 6 last year. Maybe they win 4, 5, 6 again. They're bottom dwellers. They ain't doing much with what they've got.
All right. What's the next one we got?
Next up, we have got the New England Patriots.
Oof. What was their record last year?
Let me see. Last year, the Patriots were 4-13,
and they're going to be 4-13 again this year. No, honestly, I think I can say it right now that they're a bottom dweller team. One significantly reason why is they lost Bill Belichick, right? Longtime coach. Gerard Mayo is now their head coach. First time in 22 years that they have a new head coach, a change. It's going to flip that whole organization. One, Drake May is not ready to start. I would put him in the same category as J.J. McCarthy.
Which he's not. Brissett is starting.
Jacoby. They brought in Jacoby Brissett, so that's going to be huge for him. But other than that, I can't tell you Antonio Gibson, running back. I mean, but
he's listed second string running back. He's not even
Stevenson,
starting,
right? Yeah. Other than that, dude, I don't know who they really brought in. So like,
they don't. Just looking at their depth chart, it doesn't invoke confidence. Like Jacoby Brissett, yep, know that name, solid quarterback, like him. Going down the list, running back, receiver, tight end. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck these guys are.
Like, I mean, like very
well, no, not even Hooper. Like where that once again, second string. You're naming all their second string guys. That's not even who they have starting. Yeah. I genuinely don't know who the fuck all of these starters are, which does not bode well for a team. They're gonna be bottom dwellers.
For sure. And you got to look at the division too. I mean, the AFC East is stacked. Like Jets, they got Aaron Rodgers. Never count the Jets out, right? Dolphins, like Mike McDaniels knows what he's doing there, and the Buffalo Bills are the giants of the AFC East. That's tough, man. So yeah, definitely bottom dwellers. Put it down.
All right. Next up, we have got the Indianapolis
Ooh,
Colts.
okay. Indy. What was their record last year?
Last year, the Colts went. They were one of the 9-8 teams that did not make the
Okay.
playoffs.
Um. So, why don't you start us off? What do you think? Tell me what your perspective
The
is.
The Colts is one of those teams that I just don't. I've never like they are not on my radar to any degree. Like when you said how'd they do last year, I started looking at the bottom of my list. I'm like, let's see, where are they? And I had to scroll up through half the list just to find because I had no idea where to look for them. Like they don't exist to me. They're just like they are a non-relevant team. Not non-relevant as in a wow that team's trash. Like I know the trash teams. They are completely just not even a factor in my brain.
Okay.
That being said, like they were 9-8 last year. I guess I have no idea what their roster looked like last year. Like I'm looking at their current depth chart, but I don't know what's changed about it at all. Like who have they moved around?
So they had Gardner Minshew last year, which he didn't do bad, but that's only because Anthony Richardson got hurt in week 4, right? So it's like they got another first round quarterback this year, right? Anthony Richardson finally gets to start if he stays healthy this year. And before, like, he got hurt, he was killing it. Like, I thought Anthony Richardson was like a solid rookie quarterback. So they brought in they got Anthony Richardson coming back. They also brought in a solid insurance quarterback in Joe Flacco. So if Anthony Richardson goes down, Joe Flacco is probably one of the best backup quarterbacks you can have in the NFL. So I think that's going to be huge. They re-signed Michael Pittman. They re-signed a lot of their guys, so they didn't lose much. They only lost Isaiah McKenzie to the Giants, Julian Blackmon, their safety, and Tony Brown. So, like, I don't think that the Colts really lost that many people. And the AFC South, yeah, you got the Texans that are starting to make a name, but the Jaguars still middle of a pack, right? Like I don't believe or trust in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who else? The Titans, they're in a complete rebuild. So
Yeah, Titans are not doing shit to
they
them. Texans are going to be the ones to get. Last year, that it was a close division. Outside of the Titans, that like only won 6 games. Like Houston won it by 1 game.
yeah,
They tied in record with the Jaguars. Like they're listed third on here, but they're honestly just right there at the cusp of being at the top of that division.
I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna sound crazy, but I'm putting the Indianapolis Colts as first round losers. I'm gonna elevate.
Now, that doesn't sound crazy at all. When you said you were going to say something crazy, I was like, don't you fucking say playoff
No,
runners, you piece of
no,
shit.
no.
Like,
But I mean, we haven't really put other than the Bears. Like I think that the Colts are a team, especially with Anthony Richardson. If he can build on what little he played and he stays healthy, I think the Colts are a very solid, capable team that could go to the playoffs, win the division, and park right there. And then they'll lose to the Chiefs and like the wild
sure,
card.
but 100%. Just them already having the established record of about 9-8 from last season, not losing a ton, slash getting better in the quarterback room, technically, assuming you have a healthy guy in the quarterback room that's going to stay. And even if they don't, like, you can make the argument that Joe Flacco is a much better option than Gardner
Oh,
Minshew.
100%. Yeah,
So, like, even if you're just looking at from a backup perspective, like, they're on the up and up. So, making slight improvements in the offseason and being right there at that cusp last year, I think there's no doubt they're definitely first round losers.
for sure. I agree. Okay, what is this next team we got?
The next team on the docket is going to be the LA Chargers.
Woo! Okay. The Chargers, man, they are interesting. One,
They are very interesting.
Jim Harbaugh. Let's start there. Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan. He's like, I'm going back to the NFL. I'm going to go into one of the most competitive divisions in like NFL right now in the AFC West. So like the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers. Like it's a hard division. Like all 4 of those teams are good. Of course, the Chiefs are leaps and bounds over those teams, but all 4 of those teams know how to compete and play winning football. This is going to be the interesting part. One, Justin Herbert just lost Keenan Allen, right? Quentin Johnston from TCU has to step up. Mike Williams is gone. They have old boy from Lad McConkey from Georgia. that is going to be a starter. They got rid of Austin Eckler. They brought in J.K. Dobbins. I like J.K. Dobbins. The only thing I don't like is he's injured every single year.
Well, looking at their depth chart, they've got Gus Edwards as first
Okay.
string, listed as questionable right now. And then, yes, J.K. Dobbins as second string, also listed as
Yep.
questionable right now.
And the one thing about Jim Harbaugh, he loves to run the football. They brought in, who was their offensive tackle they drafted in the first round? Solid.
Is he starting?
Should be.
Is he left? Slater?
No, he's been
Alt?
Joe Alt. So, yeah, they drafted a bona fide starter at left tackle that is going to protect Justin Herbert throughout the year. They brought in DJ Chark, which is solid. What was their record last year?
5-12.
Okay, I think this is going to take a while for Jim Harbaugh to kind of build. I'm putting them in the shortcomers. I think the Chargers are not playoff losers just because I think the Raiders gotten better than the Chargers, and I only see two teams coming out of the AFC West. And I think the Broncos have gotten better as well. So, I think they're shortcomers.
I think they might be bottom dwellers.
Bottom dwellers.
With the losses that they've taken on, remember, our cutoff between shortcomers and bottom dwellers was being a game or two out. They went 5-12, lost their best receiver, their Pro Bowl awesome receiver. All the replacements that they've added are rookies. So it's really hard to make the argument that they made a step up because we don't know anything about these rookies. They don't have anyone. And like you said, they lost Eckler too. They lost the running back. They lost a couple of their top receivers. Yeah. And like you said, Jim Harbaugh, new coach coming in. As great of a coach as you are, you even said it takes time to rebuild things. It takes time to get your shit started. I think that time is going to be longer than shortcomers.
I don't think they're bottom dwellers, and the reason is coach prestige. I think Jim Harbaugh gets the most out of every player he ever has. Look up his first season at the San Francisco 49ers. Tell me what his first overall, his record.
That's the 49ers.
I get that, but I still think with Justin Herbert, they're still going to perform. They're going to win games that they're not supposed to win, and I think they're going to be a 7-10 team. And so I think they are shortcomers in that stance. Because if you put the Vikings that really didn't do much besides Aaron Jones as shortcomers, you could put the LA Chargers as shortcomers.
I suppose. I don't know. The Vikings for me is more about their talent outside of the court, which they have JJ McCarthy, so who knows how he'll step in and play the role. But I'm thinking of talent outside Aaron Jones. You've got Justin Jefferson, the best receiver in the league. You've got Jordan Addison. You've got TJ Hawkinson. I think they're a well-equipped team.
And
besides Herbert, I don't look at the rest of the team and necessarily think, yeah, that's a stacked team.
So you're telling me Joey Bosa's not a beast on the defensive side of the ball?
I'm an offensive guy, and I'm looking at
Khalil Mack's still a beast and is going to perform well with Jim Harbaugh. Derwin James, their defense is going to carry them. As weak as the offense may look, their defense is still going to carry them in a very offensive-heavy division. And so you don't think that the Chiefs are going to be cussing out the Chargers defense every time they play, or the Raiders when they're starting Aiden O'Connell, or the Broncos? I think that defense carries this team.
They are going to play more teams than just teams in their division.
I understand that, but then that gives them even better chances to win.
Okay, but here's my line of thought. Everyone you listed was just there last year, right?
Yeah.
And they went 5-12.
They also had
and they lost.
They also had Brandon Staley as their head coach. They have Jim Harbaugh as their head coach.
Fair enough.
They fired Brandon Staley.
Was he the play caller?
What?
Was he the play caller on either side of the ball?
He was the play caller on the defensive side of the ball. So now, with them bringing in Wink Martindale, that we talked about a while back, Wink Martindale, it's going to be a different team, man. It's definitely going to be a different team. And this defense is going to roll. Because one thing Jim Harbaugh knows how to do is bring the heat on defense.
All right. I'll give you shortcomers.
All right.
Because we got 3 bottom dwellers and 1 shortcomer. But I'm just saying, I'm not making my argument based on coaching. Coaching makes a difference. I will agree, but also it's Jimmy and Joe's, not X's and O's. You need the fucking guys.
That's fair. But also, that took a lot of time for me to convince you. That was a lot of energy.
I mean, I was convinced, and you were just kind of rambling on, and I just kind of let you go.
Okay.
If you like ever want to stop and let me talk at some point, like I was waiting to tell you I'd put him
Okay,
there.
my bad. I was like, oh, this guy doesn't believe me. I gotta keep convincing him. What the fuck?
But your basis of I don't believe you is based on what? Me sitting here? I was letting you talk. You were just going on and on and on.
That's fair. Oh man. All right.
All right. Next up, we have got the Seattle
Oh.
Seahawks. That's an interesting
What
team.
was her?
Last year they were one of the 9-8 teams that were eliminated.
Okay. So this is what I'm saying. I think they go from a first round loser last year all the way to a bottom dweller.
They were not a first round loser. They were eliminated.
Okay, so I think they go from shortcomers to a bottom dweller. With the Seattle Seahawks, they've lost one, Pete Carroll, right? Longtime coach.
Yeah.
Mike McDonald, the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, is their head coach now. I'm looking through the guys that they brought in, and none of them scream off like starting.
Who have they brought in?
Leonard Williams, defensive tackle from the Jets. Not bad, right? Other than that, George Fant, offensive tackle, solidify the offensive line. Jerome Baker, middle of the pack, average linebacker. Tyrell Dodson, to be honest, I don't even know who Tyrell Dodson is. Noah Fant, they re-signed him. So, I mean, they're keeping their starting tight end. Wallace.
So they've got Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, DJ Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jabba, Noah Fant. Like, it seems like their team has stayed relatively the same, offensively speaking. I know you say they brought in George Fant, but he's even listed as second string right now. He's not even listed as starting. So, like, they brought in Byron Murphy or something, right? Or was
he was there last year.
Okay, well, he's second string. But I'm not necessarily seeing – I mean, I'm seeing some good names, right? Like, DJ Metcalf, good name. Tyler Lockett, good name. Najab, like, they've got talent. My only thing is, like, yeah, they went 9-8 last year. Yeah, like, you've got all these guys, and 9-8's good. It's a winning record. But do you necessarily do it again without, like you said, Pete Carroll, who was running the show for a lot? Like, that's the time when coaching does make a big difference. Is when you've got a longtime head coach who's been there, done it a certain way, and blah, blah, blah. And now you bring in someone new. That's when the coaching side of things can really make things take a hit. It's really, really hard for a new coach to come in and flip things right around and make a huge difference with the exact same guys. But it's really easy for a new coach to come in, replace a long-term great that's been with the team forever, and fuck everything up.
Honestly, and I don't think they're gonna be like at the bottom of the bottom dweller list. I just think they're gonna fall off a little bit, like 9 games to 6 games. Like, I think they'll go 6-10, and then they'll, like, next year maybe they'll flip it around. Maybe they'll find out the answer that Geno Smith isn't their starting quarterback. Like, those are the question marks that are still out there 2 years later. You know, so
I will give the Seahawks bottom dweller status.
Right.
Next up, we've got the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, the dog pound. All right.
I think this is the first team we've had that did go to the playoffs last year.
Okay.
Am I correct? Yeah, that's the first team we've got that actually did go to playoffs. They were 11-6. How far into the playoffs did they go? I do not remember.
And how much of that was Joe Flacco, and how much of that was Deshaun Watson? Like, that's the first.
Man, I don't even know. That's
the first thing I'm gonna say. The question marks are still out on Deshaun Watson. And I mean, I don't know who they've lost. I can't find who they've lost throughout this year, but I can tell you who they brought in, and some of them are good. I mean, okay, so Zadarius Smith from the Green Bay Packers defensive end. I think he's a beast. Like, we faced him 2 times a year. I thought he was a good player. Jordan Hicks from the Minnesota Vikings, linebacker, solid starter. Tyler Huntley, a solid backup quarterback, just in case Deshaun Watson gets hurt, right? Tyler Huntley, he's been a long time for the Baltimore Ravens. Deontay Foreman, a great backup running back for the Browns. I mean, we saw him ball out for Chicago last year. Nyheim Hines, a good running back. Quentin Jefferson. So like they brought in some capable backups, and I don't think they lost that many people, and they still have Amari. It's all going to fall on Deshaun Watson's shoulders.
How many games was Flacco in? Because Deshaun finished the year, right?
No.
Like Deshaun was playing by the end, wasn't he?
Flacco was.
I thought Flacco was playing by the end. Did Flacco start the season too?
No, it was.
Am I thinking of a year ago?
Yeah, you're thinking a year ago, but it wasn't Flacco a year ago. It was Jacoby Brissett, 2 years ago.
No, I remember that, but I swear it was Joe Flacco that like started. No, I'm all fucked up now on the Browns.
All right, so Joe Flacco won NFL Comeback Player of the Year last year. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now just so we have an accurate thing.
Here we go. I got a playoff bracket so I could actually see like okay, how far did they go? They did lose in the first round last year to the Texans, 45-14.
Okay, so Joe Flacco played the last 5 games of the regular season from week 13 all the way to week 18, where he went 4-1, and he threw for 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And then in the playoff game, he threw 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So yeah, Deshaun did not finish the game for him last year or the season. So like, I'm not sold on Deshaun Watson. I don't think he's that good. I do think they go.
You said Flacco went 4-1,
Yeah.
So they were 11-6. So what does that make?
9-8.
That makes Deshaun
8.
What's 11 minus 4? Math is hard.
10, 9,
7. I think it's 7.
7 and 5.
It's 7 and 5.
Yeah, and I think with how tough that AFC North is, and they all beat up on each other with the Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals, I think they go from first round losers down to shortcomers, bottom dwellers.
I don't think you can't drop them all the way to bottom dwellers. That like they went 11-6. They were in the playoffs. They did lose in the first round to the Texans, who were out the very next round. But yeah, you can't drop them all the way to first round lose. You got to drop them to shortcomers.
All right, so Browns are at shortcomers. Let's move on to the next team.
We have got the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, we're gonna make this one super quick. I think
bottom dweller.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, even with Kirk Cousins, I still think they're a bottom dweller. Well, they have a weak division.
They might take a step, but that's true. They did go 7-10, so like they were kind of right on that cusp of bottom dweller, shortcomer, like hanging around.
They signed Darnell Mooney.
They signed Mooney, who, I mean, say what you will about Mooney. Good, not good. I don't
know. They did bring in Rondale Moore from the Cardinals. Kirk's going to be the big thing, right? Kirk's going to be like, we don't have to look at all these other guys. I think Kirk Cousins, it's going to be dependent on how he comes back from his ACL tear, because he tore his ACL last year. If he doesn't come back as well, that's probably also why they drafted Michael Penix in the draft. That's also the other thing why I think they are bottom dwellers. Like, I don't think they are shortcomers because they didn't improve in the draft. Like, they just drafted a replacement for a guy that you just paid $84 million to come start for you. I think the Falcons are bottom dwellers.
Yeah, this might be going into some slight biasy with me and like not looking fully at just like the standings and who they've got and etc. Whatever. A part of it is a bit of a biasy, but like, yeah, I see them as bottom dwellers. And it's not even the talent they have. It's not even like the coaching or anything, but how do you pay somebody millions of dollars to go draft his old ass replacement? Like, old ass being, they didn't draft a 19-year-old coming out of college. Like, they drafted a 24-year-old man to replace Kirk Cousins on like a 4-year contract or some shit. Like what are you doing?
Doesn't make sense. And
is that all?
They got a new coach. Oh, Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris is their new head coach. Arthur Smith got fired. So that's the other thing. Yeah, you're going to take a step back when you get a new coach.
unless it's Jim Harbaugh. According to
I
you.
mean, Coach.
Contradict yourself there. I keep receipts.
That's fair, but I still think, I mean, Jim Harbaugh's a stud, man. He's going to do everything in his power to.
Maybe Raheem Morris was too. I don't fucking know, dog. But yeah, Falcons, bottom dwellers. I think that's safe to say. Okay. Next up, we've got a lot of teams. This has been going on for an hour almost already. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh, okay. Jacksonville. What they finished last year, 9-8?
They were one of the 9-8 teams that did not get in.
And I think they are a shortcomer team. I think the Texans will win. Either the Texans or the Colts will win that division this year. They brought in Eric Armstead from the 49ers, which is great. I mean, I think he's a great pass rusher. They brought in Gabe Davis as well. Good wide receiver. But Gabe Davis is one of those receivers, it's either a touchdown or it's a bust. Like, there's no in between. He's a flyer, man. And they gave him $39 million, too. They brought in Mac Jones to be their backup quarterback. Ezra Cleveland, a solid guard, and Darnell Savage. They lost DJ Chark, and the question marks are still out on Trevor Lawrence.
That's what I was going to say. My biggest thing is Trevor Lawrence just has some huge question marks around it. Like, it's really, I think last year was technically his make it or break it year, and he did not make it. So it's kind of like, okay, where are we at with this guy? You know, like who is Trevor Lawrence going to be this season? Like, is he going to step it up? Is he going to play well? Is he going to have some good games? Is he going to be this kind of mediocre, wins a few, keeps them in contention, but not necessarily getting the job done? Pretty much the definition of coming short.
For sure. And I don't know, man. It's going to be tough to see. All right.
Next up, we've got the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
So, Dallas was also 11-6, right? 12-5. Dallas was 12-5. They lost their first game to Green Bay, though.
Okay.
In the playoffs last year.
I'm a known Cowboy hater. I don't really like the Cowboys. Never have. They lost Tony Pollard. That's number one, right? Tony Pollard's gone. They lost a decent amount. Like, I guess not decent amount. I mean, they lost Tyler Baez, their center. They lost Dorrance Armstrong. They lost Jordan Lewis. That's about it. Oh, they lost Tyron Smith, too. Their left tackle. I think that, but they also grabbed Royce Freeman. They brought in Eric Kendricks, and that's all they really brought in.
I mean, just the way the Dallas Cowboys are and the way they operate, I think they kind of sit right where they're at. I think they're first round losers. 12-5 is a hell of a good season. Like, I didn't even pull up their depth chart, but I think you're running it back for the most part with Dak and all, like who'd you say they lost? Did they lose a ton? They got Ezekiel Elliott back. They got CeeDee Lamb still. They've got Dak. I don't know about their defense. They still have, what's his name? I can't think. Starts with
Micah Parsons.
Parsons. Yep, there he is. They've got Parsons. I think they make the playoffs again, but I don't think they're capable of making.
I was going to say playoff run. Like, is that just one game? Is that 2 games?
That's what we kind of said. To me,
I think we could put the Cowboys in as playoff run, but only if it's
to me, playoff run means you gotta win a couple of games
or be good enough to win, or come very close to winning a couple of games. Okay, that's what I think.
Maybe, yeah, because you obviously got to get out of the first round, and then I think you got to come out of your divisional round.
Okay.
If you're going on a run.
And unless they have a bye week and they win the divisional, I would count that as a run.
Sure. No, yeah. If you have a bye and win your divisional round, you're arguably, it pretty much means you are competing for the AFC or the NFC championship.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm good with the Cowboys being first round losers.
Next up, we have got the Denver Broncos.
All right. Let's see who the Denver Broncos have brought in this offseason. They got rid of Jerry Jeudy. So
That's going to
that
hurt.
Jerry's not there. Russell Wilson is gone. They have a whole new quarterback room. I'm going to say this right here. The Broncos, I know they didn't finish great last year. They finished 7-10. I'm going to say that the Broncos are still shortcomers. I'm putting them back in the shortcomer category. I don't believe in Bo Nix right away because I don't think he'll start right away. I think it's going to be Zach Wilson that starts for them week 1, week 2. But I think Bo Nix will probably start by week 4, week 5. But by then it'll be a little too late. I don't know even if. Do you think it's going to be shortcomers? Because I'm stuck between shortcomers and bottom dwellers.
Yeah, the way they have been lately has not been great. Like, definitely when you think of them from a purely, if you were to just, without looking at anything, record or any, if you were to just ask me, hey, where do the Broncos stand? I'm like, they're kind of bottom dwellers right now, like they're not doing great. Yet somehow looking at the records, like, okay, they went 8-9. That's not bad. Almost 500. Like, honestly, I would have thought worse of them from this past year. I don't love losing Jerry Jeudy. That is a big yikes. Russell Wilson, I mean, I don't know if he necessarily did much for him, but like also it is Russell Wilson, so you have to reasonably believe that like there is still talent there, that he still did a good job, and you're replacing him with Jarrett Stidham, who was he with, the Raiders?
Yeah.
Did he do much with the Raiders?
No.
Was he the start? He was like a backup for the Raiders for the most part, wasn't
He started like 3 or 4 games last
year. As you say, he started a couple
year.
games, but
or Zach Wilson. I mean, like the jury's still out. But yeah, so I'm good with bottom dwellers. I think
I think I can go bottom dweller. To make sure that these are going to end up being a nice pyramid style, layout. I think bottom dwellers is probably the right place for them.
Okay. Let's go to our next team. What do we got?
Next up, we have got the LA Rams.
Oof.
Coming off of this one will be a little wonky. 10-7, so they did make the playoffs, and they lost to the Lions in the first round by 1 point.
Okay, so I think the Rams, Sean McVay, like he's a great coach, right? He's going to get the most out of his guys. He's a great X and O type of guy. The one thing with that, they lost Jordan Fuller, but they also lost Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald retired this offseason. So that's going to hurt the Rams a decent amount. But at the same time, like they brought in Jonah Jackson, a left tackle. They shored up the backup quarterback with Jimmy G. They got Tre'Davious White, which is going to be a stud for them at corner. Like, I think they are a good team. They got Jared Verse and Braden Fisk to replace Aaron Donald. And Jared Verse is a great outside linebacker from Florida State. I think the Rams are a playoff runner. I think they can go into the playoffs and they can ball out.
Yeah, I think the Rams, I think they'll be back. I don't know. We don't have anybody making a run yet, per se. So I like to give a little bit of a nod. And just looking at who we've got as first round losers, Bears, Colts, Cowboys, I'm like, I don't associate the Rams with any of those teams. Yeah. I associate the Rams with like a step above. So I am all good with giving them a step above, seeing what they got.
All right.
Also, I love Stafford. Like I'm a closeted Stafford fan. I think he was underappreciated with the Lions, and they still got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, who took a huge step up. Like, they've got fucking talent. Like, they should be good.
Right. Okay. Who's our next team?
Next up, we've got the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
They did make the playoffs, I remember, because they beat, I think I said the Cowboys.
No, they
no, that doesn't make sense.
Colts.
The Browns. They beat the Browns in the first round by 45-14.
Yeah.
They then proceeded to lose to the Ravens 34-10. But what moves have they made in this offseason? Tell me that.
They brought in Danielle Hunter from Minnesota, great defensive end. They brought in Danico Autry, a defensive end from the Titans. They brought in Miles Bryant, a cornerback. They brought in C.J. Henderson. They brought in Mario Edwards, a defensive end. So nothing crazy. Oh, Jeff Okuda, a good cornerback. Nothing crazy, but at the same time, they don't really need crazy because they have a really good young foundation down there. I'm putting the Texans up with the Rams, man. Like I think the Texans, they did it last year. They won a game in the wild card. I think they'll win a divisional round. I think that the Texans could go. So
I think the Texans make a
yeah,
run.
I'm gonna put
Like, I definitely think that they are. I mean, they were one game away from it, questionably, last year. Winning the first game 45-14, I almost want to say, like, yeah, that's making a run right there. Like, like you're getting it done. And they lost to the Ravens, It's like the Ravens went on and, yeah, they lost barely in the AFC Championship game, but, like, the Ravens was a good fucking team. They were the number one seed.
Yeah.
Going into it all last year. So when you get stopped by the number one seed in the divisional round, like that's kind of a run.
Right.
I like the Texans making a run.
Okay, so who's our next team? Who we got?
Next up, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, I don't think we really need to talk about this. I think they're Super Bowl contenders.
Obviously, with a team that's going to have 3 rings at this point in the past 5 years, yeah, they're contenders. Yeah. What else do you want to say?
It's the New England Patriot effect. There it is. Yeah. Okay.
Until Patrick Mahomes retires, then I will change my mind. But until that day comes, they're always going to be contenders.
For sure. Okay, who's our next team we got?
Next up, we have got the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Justin! Okay.
No, Russ.
But probably by the end of the year, Justin Fields.
We'll see. They also went 10-7, and they lost to the Bills 31-17 in the first round.
Okay, I mean, I'm just going to put them like right away. I don't even know if we really necessarily have to talk about them all so much. It's Mike Tomlin. He never has a losing season. That usually contributes to at least a playoff appearance. I think you can put the Pittsburgh Steelers right in first round losses.
Let me see. Russ, Najee Harris, keeping him. Still got George Pickens. That's good.
TJ Watt.
I just say the biggest thing, you say we don't need to go into super detail on them. I don't think you need to be going into super detail on a lot of these teams. Like, give me the short star players that they either lost or added, and I'll be able to make a decision. I don't need to know every little move they made. Okay. I just need, like, the key guys that are, like, going to be the impact. Like, Chargers lost Keenan Allen. All you got to tell. Or Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. Lost him. That's all I really need to know. Yikes.
Okay. Russell Wilson, Patrick Queen, Justin Fields, and Dante Jackson. That's it. That's who they brought in. Like, that's not bad. I mean,
it's not bad. It's not a lot of addition, but also you're starting off from a 10-7 record. Yeah. So, like, it's not a lot of addition on an already pretty solid team. So, yeah, they're going to be first round losers.
Yep. All right. Who do we got now?
Next up, we've got the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh.
I know this one from memory a little bit. These bitches went out and they grabbed Derrick Henry.
They did.
So I think that automatically puts them in Super Bowl contention.
I agree. And they did lose Patrick Queen, linebacker, but still, I still think they got Roquan Smith last year. Like, I still think the Ravens are definitely a contender.
Well, and just the things that Lamar and Derrick Henry are going to be able to do in the run game for that team is going to be unreal. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're a linebacker playing against them, you're fucking sweating. Yeah. Like, you don't know what the fuck to do because you either got a big-ass running back who's going to smack you in the mouth if you're not going, like, full speed, hard down at him, or you have, like, a shifty quarterback who's going to whip it right around the outside and run by you if you're, like, not playing it slow enough.
Yep.
Like, it puts you in such a dilemma of, do I, like, power down and hit the hole, or do I give it a pause, make sure that he actually has it, and by that time, it's too fucking late. You're getting trucked.
For sure, and that's just going to be completely dynamic. And they have a great head coach. John Harbaugh is a beast. Okay, so next team, who do we got?
Next up, we have got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right. They made the playoffs last year. I know that. They beat the Eagles last year.
They were one of the 9 and 8 teams that made the playoffs.
And they went on a run, didn't they?
Let me see. Tampa Bay beat the Eagles and then lost to Detroit.
Okay. And they barely lost to Detroit?
1 touch, 8 points.
Yes. Okay. So I don't think they're going to have the same success. Like,
No.
I think they had a great year with Baker Mayfield. They got the most out of Baker. I think it kind of comes back down to earth. I can't really find out who they brought in. Sterling Shepard is the only name I'm seeing.
Yeah. Like, if you want to go from pure record, like, the only reason they made it in at 9-8, they won their division.
Yeah.
Like, they beat the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. Like, that is the only. So if you want to go off of that argument, like, are the Saints going to win the division this
You
year,
know
or
what?
is Tampa Bay going to win it again? Because if Tampa Bay wins it again, they'll technically be first round losers, not necessarily by record standards, but by like divisional
Let's just
standards.
talk. I know we are doing a wheel spinner, but let's just talk about the Saints right now, and then we'll get that out of the way. Like,
Sure.
I think Derek Carr could win the division, but I still think it comes back down to the offenses. And I think the Buccaneers with Mike Evans and everybody still have a better offense. So yeah, let's put the Bucks in at first round losers, and then we'll put the Saints in as shortcomers.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
What were the Saints? The Saints were also 9-8,
Yeah.
but were just a step below the Bucks.
Yeah.
Which is why they were not in the playoffs when the Bucks were.
Yeah, we're gonna put the Saints in as shortcomers. Okay, I like it. We're moving.
I like it. Next up, we've got the New York Jets.
Oh man,
this is pretty obvious. They're going to be Super Bowl contenders. I mean, just how do you stop that team?
Okay, honestly though, like I know that's a joke, but I was debating between playoff run and first round losers. I'm not gonna lie.
They did go 7 and
healthy.
They did go 7-10 surprisingly, and that is actually a very big key that I didn't think about. They hopefully do have Aaron Rodgers for more than what? 1 minute,
plays,
2 minutes, 4 plays.
So that's why I'm like, I know you're joking, but like, yeah, I could.
They quite genuine. What moves did they make in the off season?
Okay.
Like, yes, they're gonna have Aaron Rodgers like healthy again. Like, we'll see for how long. But what have they gotten for Rodgers? Like, who do they got to help?
They brought in Tyron Smith, left tackle from the Cowboys, which is a beast. Mike Williams, the Chargers wide receiver. They brought in Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle from the 49ers. They brought Tyrod Taylor in to back him up. Yeah, no, John Simpson, another guard. Like, they rebuilt that offensive line. Like, and that's what I'm saying is, like, honestly, playoff runners.
Oh, I don't know if I'd say runners.
Biggest jump from last year. I think I'm going playoff runners because Aaron Rodgers
I don't know if
knows how to beat people in the playoffs. He's done it before. Like, yeah, he loses in the NFC Championship, which would be the AFC Championship, but he always goes. Like, and I don't think the Jets will get a first round bye, but I think there'll be a wild card team that could upset another team and then win in the divisional. I'm going playoff runners for the New York Jets.
I don't know if I cannot see the Jets as playoff runners. I mean, you think you're going to have, like, we're saying you got to go to the championship pretty much to be a playoff runner, right? So in theory, like, there's two of them, along with like 2 Super Bowl contenders that move. And you got to get past the Chiefs and the Ravens, arguably, unless they beat each other. Like, you're going to meet one of them. I don't know. But it's the Jets. And I will say, Aaron Rodgers has done it before. He's been in the NFC Championship, like all that good. Great. This is the AFC we're talking about. They are a little bit different breeds. They do have a little bit different types of play between like what their teams
Let me throw out another team that's very comparable, and we haven't got to them yet, but the Miami Dolphins, right? Like the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets. I feel like they are very, very similar. One's built on defense, but also has a star quarterback that's actually going to play this year. I could see that, like, if the Jets don't win their division, but they get paired up with the Miami Dolphins, they beat the Miami Dolphins. I could see them beating the Bengals in the divisional round. I think they are playoff runners. Is it the Aaron Rodgers bias? Or is it just like too much in the AFC?
Frankly, I forgot completely about Aaron Rodgers. I just think there's so many other teams that we still have on the list that I would put as runners that I'm like, I'm not going to list a million playoff runners. Like,
you know what I mean? Skip them for now, and we come back, or do we gotta play something?
I feel like we I don't know. Are we allowed?
Let's skip them.
Are we
Skip
allowed to
them.
do a skip?
We'll skip them. We'll come back. Um,
We'll skip and we'll come back. Skipping the Jets, putting them on ice real quick. We've got the Eagles.
okay, NFC.
Ooh.
I think the Eagles are playoff runners just because they lost to the Bucks last year. They crumbled
You
down the
think
stretch.
so? They were falling apart though.
But
Like
they won
they
the
did
Super
finish
Bowl
11
2
and
years ago.
6.
They
Huh?
went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I still think they have that foundation. They added Saquon Barkley. They brought in some decent pieces. Like they got Cooper DeJean. They brought in like a stud corner in the first round. They rebuilt that defense. I think the Eagles are ready for another playoff run.
Maybe. I have to think about this real quick. They do have a very, very talented roster. They've got Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Like all those guys are still working. Got Dallas Goedert. Saquon Barkley is a great addition there. Cooper DeJean is not starting. He's, second string. We'll see if that stays or not. But I mean, I suppose I can throw them in as runner. I have a lot of disbelief about that locker room.
That's fair.
Like that locker room, like they lost 32-9 to the Buccaneers. The 9-8 Buccaneers beat them 32-9 in the first round last year, and they were just absolutely like falling apart, like locker room wise, just team wise, bond wise. So I just have my reservations about them, but I'll give them playoff runners.
Okay.
Too much talent.
Too much talent not to be, I feel like. All right. The next team, who is it? Who do we got?
Next up, we've got the Detroit Lions. Now this is a little tough because I don't know if I want to lean into Super Bowl contenders or settle at playoff runners.
Yeah, that's tough. They were close. They were very close.
They were close. They played in the NFC Championship and lost by 3 points to the 49ers.
I don't know if they have that same level of success this year around. I mean, they didn't really add that many pieces this year, from what I'm looking at. If you want me to read off the pieces that they did, I mean, it's not that high. I mean, they brought in Kevin Zettler, a guard, DJ Reader, a D tackle, Donovan Peoples-Jones, a wide receiver. That's about it. Marcus Davenport. That's about it. So like they brought in those type of guys, like very, very rotational type guys, but you don't really need that when you have a team that's built like the Lions and a coach like Dan Campbell. I'm going playoff runner. That's what I'm doing.
Playoff runner for the Lions.
What are you good with that? We can always move them up later on if we have to.
I think I can settle on playoff runner.
Okay.
I think I'm yeah. Yeah. Fuck it.
Okay.
But settle with runner right now. I might have to change my mind to move him up because I don't know if I'm putting anyone else in the AFC as a Super Bowl contender. I've only got one other NFC team in mind for Super Bowl contender, and I would theoretically like to have that be 2-2. Like two options on either side. So the Lions honestly might be that second option for me if we got four guys up there, but we'll see how that falls. They'll stick with runners for right now until we want to reevaluate the totality of our list. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. The Bengals.
Next up, we have got the Bengals.
All right. What do you think, man? The Bengals. Joe Burrow. Good old Joe. I don't know. I really don't know what they've done in this offseason.
I would put them just off of pure, like, knowing nothing else. Like, I almost want to put them as runners. I feel like they kind of flip-flop back and forth with their, like, Joe Burrow wins a Super Bowl and then kind of lags off and then, like, makes a big run and then kind of lags off. Like I want to say they're up there. They were one of the 9-8 teams that did not go to the playoffs at all last year, though.
They lost Joe
Mixon.
Mixon.
Is kind of
They lost Joe Mixon
that's a big hurt.
They signed Mike Gesicki. They signed Zach Moss and Von Bell. Yeah, I mean, we could go runners. I'm cool with that. We'll put them runners. I could see them winning one, maybe two games.
we could maybe once again like amend that to like a first round loser if we feel that like eh, maybe not with the Bengals. Maybe I'm living in the past too much, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Hearing the Bengals right now still, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's a good team. Like that's a good fucking team.
Okay.
Losing Mixon though does kind of make me lean toward they might have to get bumped down.
Well, and it depends if T. Higgins gets traded before the offseason is over because he is
True.
on the trade block. Well, he requested a trade out of Cincinnati.
Did he? So yeah, that will make a difference as well on what happens with that.
Okay.
But now we've got the Las Vegas Raiders.
I don't know if we got to spend much time with this one. I think
I hope not.
they're a shortcomer, right? Like Antonio Pierce, they went 7-10 last year. They
went 8-9 last year.
8-9. I think they'll fall like 7-10 this year. They're frisk.
What new players do they have? Who's different for them?
Let me look.
What changes happened?
Well, they brought in Antonio Pierce as their actual starting or their actual head coach. So that's change number one. Number two is it's pulling up right now. They brought in Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback or backup. They brought in Andre James, a solid center that's in the NFL. They brought in St. Brown, left the Chicago Bears. Equiminius St. Brown, I did not know he left. They brought in Brock Bowers, tight end. They brought in Jackson Powers Johnson overall. They brought in some okay guys. Like, I mean, they didn't bring anybody in that's crazy, but they still got Max Crosby. They got some player. They got Devontae Adams.
I can give them shortcomers with, a couple of decent acquisitions. They were shortcomers last year. Like, I have no problem with them kind of running it back with just a step out of things.
Right. Okay.
All right. Next up, we've got the San Francisco 49ers.
They're Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, if you argue with me on this one, I'm going to punch you in the face. They are probably the top Super Bowl contenders for the NFC side of things. Like they're up there.
Okay.
All right. Miami Dolphins.
First round losers.
Sounds about right.
I
can agree to that. Going 11? They go 11-6 last year. Yep, 11-6 last year. Made the playoffs. Lost to the Chiefs, 26-7. Like, yeah, they're probably going to stay right about where they are. First round losers. All right, the Green Bay Packers. First round losers. Shortcomers.
I feel like if you put the Bears at first round losers, you got to put the Green Bay Packers as first round losers. But also, they did go on a run last year. They won 2 games. I almost want to put them at playoff runners. I hate to say that.
I don't think I can reasonably stand by and call them playoff runners.
Let's put them first round losers.
But last year they only won 1. They beat Dallas. And then they lost to the 49ers.
Barely.
So it doesn't matter. Losing is losing. We're not looking at the score of each individual game. You can lose every single game by 1 point, and you went 0-16. You fucking suck. Like, I don't care what they lost.
Okay. All right. Did you put them in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we've got the Tennessee Titans.
Bottom dwellers.
Yeah, we don't need to we touched on that for a second earlier, so I think we got that covered. The Buffalo Bills.
Playoff or Super Bowl contenders.
You think so?
I think so. I think this is the year for Josh Allen. I know he lost Stephon Diggs, but I still think this is the year.
I can see it. They've been up there for the past few years in contention with it. Like, they've been shooting hard. They did lose Diggs, which makes me kind of say, like, I don't know. They also lost Singletary, didn't they?
Yeah.
That happened. Yeah. But
they have
they got James Cook.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel isn't bad receiver-wise.
Coleman.
I don't know. Super Bowl contenders might be a little tough for me. Like, I'll go with it. I'm okay with it. I can roll that way. But a part of me is like, I might have them more of a playoff runner in my head.
And that's fair.
Personally.
Who do we?
All right, Cardinals.
Oh, Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, all the
No,
way. Super Bowl. Let's add a category and call it the Super Bowl winner because that's just too obvious.
yeah. Honestly, dude, can we create a whole nother tier for these two teams that we have left? Like we suck tier because I
The Cardinals were 4-13. There were two other teams that were 4-13.
okay.
Like the Cardinals are bottom dwellers. Like end of the day, that's what it
Okay.
is. Cardinals are bottom dwellers.
All right. Who do we got?
And our last team that we have left outside of the Jets, let's place the Jets now. It's not going to affect anything to place the Jets now.
Playoff runners.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't like it, but I'll give it to you. I still disagree with it. I don't think they got that in them.
And then let's move
sure.
the Lions up to contenders.
Okay. Well,
because right now we have 3 AFC contenders and 1 NFC contender.
Well, yeah, that when you said the Bills up there, I was like, all right, I guess, yeah, I get it. But like, okay, I mean, I want the Lions up a contender, so I'll move.
Okay.
Your contenders should be a very short list. I don't like having too many contenders. Like that should be like a short list.
We can move the Bills down to playoff
runners.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think the Bills are more of runners than they are contenders.
And just because they're runners doesn't mean they'll magically not have a run to the Super Bowl.
No, I mean like they could still get there and whatever, blah blah blah. But yes. So now, last but not least, we have the Panthers, and the Panthers are going in. The Panthers. That is the tier 6 that we didn't tell anybody about. Like they are in their own tier. They are the Panthers. 2-15. Shit, I don't know who else they got, but I don't know if that matters.
Yep, there we go. I like our list. It's not bad. Yeah. We kind of.
I'm just looking at who else they're in. Oh, they had Adam Thielen, didn't they?
They still
had
do
him last year. Yeah. They had him last year, so yeah, it's not like that did chip over. Okay, yeah, no, nothing crazy going on there. So Panthers are just the Panthers.
There we go. Other than that, I think that's it, man.
Yep, that's our list. So that is our episode. Oh, look at that! Finished it in an hour and a half there. Sweet. Yeah, I got nothing else to say, Avery.
Neither do I. I mean, since we talked NFL, bear down.